Today we are going to be talking about the easiest mods that you can do to your BMW. Whether you are experienced or a beginner, these simple little add-ons can make quite a big impact. If you guys are interested in buying any of the modifications, they will be linked down below in the description. I also have a website with a ton of different BMW modifications. It's www.thickwhips.com. Just make sure you do that maintenance before you get into modifying your car. But let's go ahead and break down this list for you guys. Now you guys are going to see me referencing a lot of different BMWs in this video because a lot of these modifications I've done on previous cars and my current cars. But for the most part, these modifications can be installed on a lot of different BMWs. The first easy and cheap modification for you guys is, you guessed it, the start-stop button. This has to be included in the BMW starter pack when anyone starts modifying their cars. It is so easy to install and it's extremely cheap. I've installed this little modification on pretty much all of my BMWs. Now, while this is a very subtle modification, it does add to the interior and I think it looks quite nice. They make them in a bunch of different colors: red, blue, yellow, black, white, and even clear. I will have them linked down below for you guys, and it should only take you about 5 minutes to install. The next modification that I'm going to bring up is the carbon fiber trunk spoiler. Now, the cool thing about this modification is it's extremely easy to install and they make them in a bunch of different finishes and styles. So depending on which chassis BMW you own, you can opt for a PSM style, you can opt for a CS style, you can opt for a competition style, you can go with a 1x1 weave, a 2x2 weave, or even a forged carbon fiber weave. So there's a lot of different options out there for us, and it adds a really cool dynamic to the rear end of the car. Just gives it a hint of more aggression, nothing over the top, but it truly does make the rear end look a lot different. As far as actually installing the trunk lid spoiler, I like to use this specific Scotch 3M Extreme Mounting double-sided adhesive. This is the strongest stuff that I can find, and it will just ensure that your trunk lid spoiler does not fly off the moment that you get on the freeway. A great way to actually remove the trunk lid spoiler is to use fishing line and slowly work that underneath the trunk lid spoiler while pulling upwards so you don't damage the actual paint, and you just start slicing through the old adhesive. You're gonna find that it's pretty difficult to get rid of that old adhesive. A great way to do that is to use one of these rubber erase wheel attachments for your drill. Just make sure that when you are working off that old adhesive that you don't stay in one area for too long, or you can potentially burn through the clear coat. You just want to keep it moving and you'll see that that old 3M comes right off. You'll also notice that a lot of BMW owners opt for the blacked out kidney grills. My opinion, I think these just look a lot better than the chrome kidney grills. And you can pretty much buy these for every single chassis BMW. Lots of different companies make them. You can buy cheapos on Amazon, or you can go ahead and get the real and performance ones from BMW. Those are gonna cost quite a bit more. And in my opinion, even the cheap ones are worth it. They all accomplish the same goal, just to make the front end look a bit more aggressive and just rid the front end of the ugly chrome that comes with the stock kidney grills. And in order to swap these out, it's relatively easy. There's just a few clips behind here that you need to remove and then slowly work out each kidney grill. You can in fact do it without removing the front bumper. However, if you want to be safe, you can just take out the Torx bolts on top of the bumper, pull it out, stick your hand behind, and remove the clips. I'm usually able to just accomplish it with a screwdriver and getting behind here and popping out those clips and working it out. Typically, if you get a few out, the entire thing comes out, but it makes a huge difference to the front end. And just like the trunk lid spoilers, they make the kidney grills in a bunch of different finishes. You can get them in carbon fiber, you can get them in forged carbon fiber, or of course you can just get them in the gloss black or matte black. I used to do a lot of the carbon fiber ones, but lately I've just been on like a gloss black kick, and I think that they look really good in just the straight up gloss black. Now, one of the simplest ways to increase performance in your BMW is to add a cold air intake. Even an upgraded drop-in filter will help, but an actual cold air intake system is going to make a huge difference to the way that your car sounds, the way that your car drives, and you can even potentially increase your gas mileage. On a difficulty scale, if this is your first time ever working on the car, the intake is a fantastic place to start because it is very simple and pretty much anyone can do it. If you have basic tools and the patience to learn, this is something that you can knock out in under an hour. And just like the majority of BMW parts, you can buy cold air intakes in a bunch of different finishes. You can purchase them them in gloss black, matte black, carbon fiber, forged carbon fiber. There's just a lot of options out there, but they do make a really big difference. And when it comes to performance modifications, that's pretty much where you should start. Now, the majority of BMWs that come from factory actually have chrome rings around all of the badges, or they just have chrome badging in general. A very popular, cheap, and easy upgrade is going to be installing blacked out badges, kind of like these ones, or you can even change out the actual badging on the back of the car. Here's a perfect example on my M3. I have the blacked out badging, but no matter what type of car you have, 328, 330, 340, 335, even X series, basically all of the BMWs, you can get a blacked out badge, which just makes the rear look a lot more aggressive and overall just cleaner without that chrome. Now, this one might be a little bit more difficult for some people, but it is a good starter modification because it's relatively simple to do. And we are talking about the stud kit conversion. BMWs like to use lug bolts with their factory wheels, which is basically just a lug nut and a bolt in one that goes through the wheel and into the hub. Now, if you change out your wheels often or you're working on your car frequently, it can get a bit tedious and annoying to try and line up the holes with the wheel and then put the actual lug bolt through. It's just a lot easier when you have a stud conversion kit because you can literally just throw the wheel onto the studs. Not to mention, I think that they look a little bit cooler as well. They give the car more of a track focused look. But if you're someone like me who is constantly in the garage working on your car, popping off the wheels, it makes a huge difference and it is a giant time saver. Now, the ones that I typically buy are from Turner Motorsports or Motorsport Hardware. Both are fantastic options. They aren't too expensive and they shouldn't take you longer than an hour to install on your entire car. Once you have the lugs in and properly installed, you can just throw on the wheel, throw on your lug nut, torque it down, and you're good to go. Another super common modification that is extremely easy, this might actually be the easiest one out of all of them, is going to be the carbon fiber antenna caps. Now, just like the majority of carbon fiber BMW parts, you can buy these in a bunch of different finishes, 1x1 weave, 2x2 weave. You can get them in the forged carbon, or you can even get them in matte or gloss black. These are extremely easy to install and relatively cheap for the install process. It shouldn't take you longer than 5 minutes. They are literally just 3M'd onto the top of your old antenna cap. You just line them up, pop them on, press it down for a good 20 seconds, and you're good to go. But it is those little subtle modifications that I think do sometimes make a big difference in a build. Another extremely popular modification amongst the BMW community are the carbon fiber mirror caps, or just different mirror caps in general. There are a lot of different styles that you can choose from, like the OEM style, finished in either carbon fiber or forged carbon fiber or just black, or they have the winged style, which is more common on the M model cars, that basically just has a little wing for styling and they look a little bit cooler than the factory ones. Those too can be purchased in flat black, gloss black, 1x1 weave, 2x2 weave carbon fiber, or even forged carbon fiber. And again, just sort of complete that carbon fiber package on the car. In terms of installing these, you do want to be careful because it is easy to break the glass, but there are plenty of tutorials online on how to install them and they're very simple. It shouldn't take you longer than 15-20 minutes to throw them on, and they do just add that certain aggressive element to the car. Another simple and cheap interior modification is the Renline phone mount. Now, I've actually ran this phone mount in a few different cars that I've owned, like my E90 M3, my F30, and also my F87 M2. This is a very OEM style approach to installing a magnet phone mount into your car. The Renline mount also places the phone in a position that doesn't interrupt or get in the way of any of the buttons or the vents. So it's a very convenient location, it's easy to install, and it looks really sleek. Not to mention the magnetic mount is extremely strong and it won't fly off or come loose from the magnet. For installation, you generally just remove the accessory panel, and it uses factory hardware to bolt behind the accessory panel and mount up right outside of that. Another simple modification to the interior, but it makes a big difference when you are driving these cars every single day. Now, if you have a manual car, a very popular upgrade with these cars is to change out the shift knob. I've done a few different styles of shift knobs in these cars. Some of them have the M Performance style, which is more of just a cylindrical style shift shift knob, and I also tend to do the ZHP shift knob, which is more along the lines of OEM, but has just a bit more weight to it. I think these look really good, and they're so simple to install. You literally just pull them up, they come right off, smack a new one on, and they're good to go. Shift knobs are also typically pretty cheap, but I do feel like a lot of times interior parts make such a huge difference because these are the parts of the car that you're using every single day that you drive it. And speaking of shift knobs, shift boots, the Alcantara shift boot options that are out there are endless. There's a bunch of different aftermarket options. You can get them from BMW, but they just look so good in the center console of a BMW, kind of breaking up that leather or black plastic vibe that is all over the car and adding in a bit of Alcantara. It can really do a lot for the interior of a car. And with that being said, you can also get e-brake boots in Alcantara as well, which again just makes a huge impact on the interior. Now let's say your car is not a manual but it's an automatic. You also have other options to change that up. You can go with carbon fiber, you can go with dry carbon fiber, you can go with aftermarket or OEM. It really just depends on the look that you're trying to achieve and how much you're wanting to spend, but again, that is a very easy modification. Basically anything that has to do with shifters or shift boots is very simple and a great beginner modification. Another modification that is super easy to install but also very popular in the BMW modification community is the P3 vent gauge. This is pretty cool. You can actually install this little analog gauge into your OEM vent and it will give you different readouts like boost, coolant temperature, air to fuel ratio, vehicle speed, intake air temperature, throttle angle, RPMs, battery voltage, and you can even read and clear codes with it. It's also a very sleek way to install a gauge into your car. You don't have to run some gigantic gauge pod in the middle of the dash that just looks silly. This is more of an OEM integration approach, and it just looks really clean and sleek. The installation is also super easy. It literally just replaces a part of your vent and then plugs directly into your OBD2 port and you're done. This is another one of those popular interior modifications that just adds a little bit of spice to the inside of your car. Now, the last modification that I'm gonna talk about today, you guys, is hardwiring your radar detector. This is a great way to just get rid of those ugly radar detector cables that hang down through the center console. Anytime I see someone using those cables, I just cringe. It is so easy to tap your radar detector into your mirror. It doesn't take longer than 15-20 minutes to do so, and it just cleans up the way that it looks. They also make mirror mounts if you want to mount it underneath your mirror. However, I really just like the look of having it way up here, and then it's not obstructing my vision with the windshield at all, and it's a bit more subdued and tucked away. I think it looks really good like this, and it doesn't distract me while I'm driving. If you have a radar detector, just hardwire it into the mirror. It is so easy. There's a ton of different tutorials online as well as in the forums. You can figure it out. Depending on your vehicle, the wiring might be a little bit different, but overall they make a hardwire kit off of Amazon. It looks just like this. One side will go into the radar detector. The other two will have these little pins that will actually go into the wires within the mirror, and basically anytime you turn on the car, the radar detector will turn on, and when you turn it off, the radar detector will turn off. So that way it's not actually draining any power out of the car while the car is off. So there you guys go. A condensed list of some simple modifications for you guys if you are buying your first BMW. Just remember, like I said in the beginning, knock out maintenance first. Don't start jumping into modifying your car until your car is driving and operating at a healthy level. But from there on out, just have a bit of fun with your car. You can add some unique modifications as well as just personalize it to your own individualized style, which is really what this community is all about. And at the end of the day, it's your car, so modify it the way that you want to. If you guys have any additional modifications, leave them down in the comments. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. But like I said, all of these modifications will be linked down below, as well as on my website, www.thickwhips.com. I appreciate you guys watching the video. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.